Think the sanitized Star Trek was all 60s sci-fi had to offer? Think again. Behind the era's space-age optimism lurked a shadow world of banned science fiction that governments deemed too dangerous for public consumption. One film was locked away for 27 years after reportedly causing 3 viewers to suffer complete mental breakdowns during its premiere. 1. Panic in Year Zero, 1962. Before The Day After traumatized a generation, Ray Milland's apocalyptic nightmare, Panic in Year Zero, pushed boundaries so far that multiple states banned it outright. This unflinching portrayal of a family fleeing Los Angeles after a nuclear attack wasn't just controversial, it was considered dangerous propaganda during the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis. The film's brutal depiction of post-apocalyptic survival shocked audiences with scenes of attempted rape, murder, and vigilante justice that censors deemed instruction manuals for anarchy. What really sent censors over the edge wasn't just the violence, but the film's subversive suggestion that the American government couldn't protect its citizens when nuclear war inevitably came. In Ohio, officials claimed the film undermined public confidence in civil defense procedures and pulled it from theaters after just 3 days. Critics called it irresponsible fear-mongering, while director Milland defended it as the slap-in-the-face Americans needed. The film remained banned in several southern states until 1968, with one Alabama censor famously declaring, "This isn't entertainment, it's a how-to guide for the breakdown of society." What's truly wild? The Pentagon actually studied audience reactions, with declassified documents revealing military officials feared the film might trigger mass panic if shown near military installations. The $435,000 production ultimately grossed over $1.2 million despite the bans, proving that forbidden fruit always tastes sweeter. 2. The War Game, 1965. Imagine creating a film so realistic and horrifying that your own government suppresses it for 2 decades. Peter Watkins' The War Game wasn't just banned, it was erased. This docudrama depicting the aftermath of a nuclear attack on Britain was commissioned by the BBC, then promptly shelved when officials realized what they'd funded. Shot in stark black and white with a documentary aesthetic, Watkins crafted scenes so disturbingly realistic that the British Home Office intervened directly to prevent broadcast. The film's clinical depiction of radiation sickness, mass blindness, food riots, and summary executions by overwhelmed police forces was deemed too horrifying for the medium of broadcasting. The most chilling aspect? Watkins used actual civil defense protocols to demonstrate their complete inadequacy. One scene shows officials calmly discussing euthanizing burn victims as humanitarian policy, while another depicts police executing looters to maintain order. When test audiences witnessed these scenes, several reportedly required medical attention. Though banned from television until 1985, the film ironically won the 1966 Academy Award for Best Documentary for a fictional film. BBC Director General Hugh Green later admitted the suppression came after pressure from the British government, who feared the film would cause mass opposition to nuclear deterrence policy. Watkins himself was effectively blacklisted, later stating, "They weren't censoring a film, they were censoring reality." 3. Privilege, 1967. Before The Matrix made manufactured reality cool, Peter Watkins' Privilege got banned for suggesting pop culture was a tool for government control. This mockumentary about a manipulated rock star used as a pawn to control youth behavior hit too close to home for authorities already paranoid about counterculture movements. Starring Manfred Mann, frontman Paul Jones, and model Jean Shrimpton, Privilege portrayed a near-future Britain, where the government and church use a tortured rock star to channel youth rebellion into conformity. The film's direct parallels to religious mass gatherings and political rallies earned it immediate censorship in multiple countries. The British Board of Film Classification initially passed it with an X rating, but several local authorities banned it outright for blasphemous content after church groups protested its depiction of stadium-sized religious rallies that mirrored Nazi propaganda techniques. In America, the film was pulled from distribution when Universal executives panicked over scenes showing Christian imagery repurposed for fascist-style gatherings. What truly disturbed authorities wasn't the film's style, but its prophetic quality. As one British MP remarked after viewing it, "This isn't fiction, it's a blueprint." The film's controversial climax, where thousands of youth perform Nazi-like salutes at a quasi-religious concert, prompted Scotland Yard to investigate the production for incitement. Jones later claimed he was blacklisted from BBC performances for nearly 2 years following the film's release. Fourth, Wild in the Streets, 1968. Wild in the Streets didn't just predict youth rebellion, it incited it. This outrageous sci-fi satire about a rock star becoming president and establishing a youth-run government where everyone over 35 gets sent to concentration camps and forcibly dosed with LSD wasn't just controversial, it was blamed for actual riots. American International Pictures' exploitation masterpiece struck such a nerve that theater owners in Chicago, Detroit, and Washington, D.C. pulled it after local officials claimed it had directly inspired youth demonstrations. The film's tagline, "There's a time to live, a time to die, a time to listen to the voices of 14-year-olds," didn't help matters during a year already boiling with generational conflict. The most notorious scene shows elderly Americans in detention camps being force-fed LSD while teen guards mock them, imagery that enraged senior citizen groups who picketed theaters nationwide. In San Francisco, one screening actually ended with audience members storming out and joining an ongoing street protest, with several arrested demonstrators citing the film as their inspiration. Senator Margaret Chase Smith publicly condemned the film on the Senate floor as treasonous entertainment, while the California Board of Education tried to classify it as political material requiring parental permission for viewers under 18. The film's box office success, $4.3 million against an $800,000 budget, only intensified establishment fears that it was genuinely radicalizing American youth. Star Christopher Jones later claimed FBI agents interviewed him about whether he supported the film's revolutionary message. 5. They Came from Beyond Space, 1967. This low-budget British alien invasion film should have disappeared into obscurity. Instead, it vanished into government vaults. They Came from Beyond Space portrayed scientists being mind-controlled by aliens to build a secret base. Standard B-movie fare until the Ministry of Defense inexplicably intervened to limit its distribution. Director Freddie Francis later revealed that officials objected to the film's accurate depiction of a real, classified research facility in Cornwall where the government was conducting top-secret radio astronomy work. The film's alien base location apparently matched actual coordinates of a Ministry of Defense installation, creating what one official termed an uncomfortable coincidence. What pushed this from coincidence to conspiracy was the film's subplot involving meteorites containing alien consciousness, eerily similar to classified studies being conducted at the time on unusual space debris. When questioned about the strange suppression, producer Milton Subotsky claimed he was visited by men identifying themselves as government scientists who questioned him about the screenplay's origins. Though never formally banned in Britain, the film mysteriously disappeared from distribution for nearly a decade, with prints reportedly lost or damaged. In America, the film was heavily edited, with 12 minutes removed, including all references to the specific location. When finally released on home video in the 1980s, conspiracy theorists noted several scenes remained missing. Francis maintained until his death that the government interference wasn't about a silly science fiction film. It was about what we accidentally revealed. 6. Creation of the Humanoids, 1962. Long before Westworld made robot ethics, Creation of the Humanoids got pulled from theaters for its radical vision of human-robot integration and interspecies matter. This ultra-low-budget philosophical sci-fi film portrayed a post-apocalyptic world where robots with artificial consciousness gradually replace a dying human race, ideas deemed morally corrupting by numerous regional censors. Shot for just $135,000, the film's clinical discussion of humans transferring their consciousness into android bodies, essentially achieving immortality, alarmed religious authorities who campaigned against it. The National Catholic Office for Motion Pictures condemned it for promoting an artificial view of human soul and creation, while theater chains in the Bible Belt refused to show it after local preachers threatened boycotts. What really pushed buttons was the film's provocative handling of RF relations, romantic and sensual relationships between humans and humanoid robots. One sequence showing a human woman defending her right to love a robot was cut from prints shown in the South. In Texas, the film was pulled after just 1 week when a local judge declared it mechanized pornography, despite containing no explicit content whatsoever. The film's most prescient element, and what most disturbed authorities, was its suggestion that humanity might willingly choose to evolve beyond biological limitations. Director Wesley Barry later claimed IBM requel a private screening after which company lawyers sent a letter asking about the origins of certain technical concepts in the screenplay. The film became a cult favorite of Andy Warhol, who reportedly screened it over 20 times at his factory studio. Siedme. Alphaville, 1965. Jean-Luc Godard's Alphaville wasn't just banned, it was interpreted as a direct attack on authoritarian control. This noir-inspired dystopia about a computerized dictatorship where emotions are illegal and dissenters are executed managed to offend both Eastern Bloc nations and Western allies with its political ambiguity. Shot in contemporary Paris but portraying a future society ruled by an AI called Alpha 60, Godard's film uses no special effects, just existing architecture and stark nighttime photography to create its dystopian world. This very realism made it dangerous in the eyes of censors, who recognized their own societies in its depiction of technological tyranny. In Spain, Franco's regime banned it outright for promoting resistance to legitimate authority, while in Czechoslovakia, officials approved it initially, then frantically pulled it from theaters during the 1968 Prague Spring, when students began quoting its dialogue during protests. Even in France, the film faced distribution challenges when government officials objected to scenes showing police enforcing logical executions. The film's most subversive aspect was its ambiguous political target. Both capitalist and communist censors saw themselves in the critique. Soviet authorities banned it for anti-socialist tendencies, while the Portuguese fascist regime cited its anarchist sympathies. Godard himself fueled controversy by refusing to clarify his political intentions, stating only, "Those who recognize themselves in Alphaville's system have condemned themselves." The film's lead actor, Eddie Constantine, later revealed he was briefly detained at the East German border after officials recognized him, with one guard allegedly stating, "We know what your film really means." Despite, or because of, these controversies, Alphaville won the Golden Bear at the 1965 Berlin Film Festival, though several Eastern Bloc jury members abstained from voting. 8. Seconds, 1966. 7. 9. Quatermass and the Pit, 1967. Released as 5 Million Years to Earth in America, Hammer Films' Quatermass and the Pit provoked religious outrage with its suggestion that human evolution, religion, and supernatural experiences could be explained by ancient Martian influence. This intelligent sci-fi/horror hybrid faced bans in multiple countries for its blasphemous premise. When construction workers discover an alien spacecraft buried in London, scientists determine it's been there for millions of years, containing insect-like Martians who influenced human evolution and planted the genetic seeds for psychic abilities. The film explicitly suggests that demons, devils, and supernatural phenomena are actually racial memories of these Martian ancestors, a concept that ignited furious protests. In Ireland, the film was banned outright for undermining Christian teaching, while in Spain under Franco's regime, distributors were forced to add a prologue clarifying that the film's theories were fictional and contrary to church doctrine. Several American theater chains in the South refused to show it after Southern Baptist leaders condemned it for promoting the false doctrine of non-biblical human origins. What most alarmed religious authorities was the film's scientific approach to supernatural phenomena. One pivotal scene shows the Martian influence manifesting as a horned devil figure composed of psychic energy, directly connecting satanic imagery to alien technology. When confronted about the controversy, writer Nigel Neal provocatively responded, "If discovering the actual truth about human origins is blasphemous, then perhaps blasphemy is necessary." Hammer Films received so many protest letters that Chairman James Carreras issued a public statement declaring, "We are not in the business of theology, but entertainment." Despite the controversy, or because of it, the film grossed over $3.5 million internationally, becoming one of Hammer's most profitable productions. 10. The Mindbenders, 1963. Years before the public knew about CIA mind control experiments, Basil Dearden's The Mindbenders depicted sensory deprivation techniques and psychological conditioning methods so accurate that U.S. officials reportedly intervened to limit its distribution. This gripping thriller about government experiments in breaking down human personality hit uncomfortably close to classified programs. Starring Dirk Bogarde as a scientist investigating how sensory deprivation tanks can make subjects susceptible to brainwashing, the film portrayed research with disturbing parallels to actual CIA and British intelligence programs. The film's realistic depiction of isolation, tank procedures, and subsequent psychological manipulations techniques raised serious questions about how the filmmakers obtained such information. In America, the film received an oddly limited release despite strong reviews, with several scenes, particularly those detailing specific conditioning methods, mysteriously cut from the U.S. version. Director Dearden later claimed government representatives requested script changes during production, which he refused. Screenwriter James Kennaway maintained that his research consisted entirely of publicly available scientific papers, though declassified documents have since revealed how closely the film's methods matched classified protocols. What made The Mindbenders truly dangerous was its central premise, that anyone's personality and loyalties could be systematically dismantled and reconstructed. The film's most controversial sequence shows Bogarde's character having his love for his wife erased through targeted psychological techniques, a scene that prompted walkouts during its premiere. In Canada, the film required an unprecedented disclaimer, stating that the depicted methods were scientifically unsound, despite being demonstrably accurate. When MKUltra was finally exposed in the 1970s, The Mindbenders received renewed attention from critics who noted its prescient depiction of government mind control research. Bogarde himself later wrote that, shortly after the film's release, he was approached by a man claiming to be a government scientist who asked, "How much did you really know?" The 1960s weren't just about moon landings and peace signs. They marked a battleground where sci-fi vision. These films were considered too dangerous for audiences. Then, what's being kept from us now? How many modern warnings are being labeled conspiracy theories that our children will someday see as prophecies?